And it was also weird that just last WrestleMania, he was an acolyte in a nothing match, and now he's a champion and a wrestling god.
Austin asked Piper if he wants more. Piper doesn't even answer it. He says he has a lot of respect for Austin.
One could say it was probably that night because Edge was high on winning Money in the Bank. He was like, "Come here,"
The ladders that they had just all burst into flames.
and they were on fire for a little bit too.
They sure were.
It's like, someone gonna attend to that? Or
Then he stand back up again and grab some more salt.
he's trying to kiss her on the lips, and he was looking at her as he was leaving,
He dives on the chair, and I guess he takes himself out in the process.
but never once did he ever check on Eugene.
No.
Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels match emotionally took me out of the rest of it.
I don't know. What emotionally took me out of it was the Akebono Giant match. Good deal. Well, without further ado, I think we should jump into our Wrestling Rewind.
The Retro Review.
And we are in Hollywood, California for WrestleMania 21. And Lillian Garcia opens up with America the Beautiful. I skipped most of it because I can't stand Garcia.
I said she did a pretty good job.
Okay.
While she was singing it, they had like the cut-ins of all the superstars doing the tribute to the troop shit. Not that it's shit. I'm just saying that, that stuff. They were doing the tribute to the troop stuff. She hit the note at the end, so yeah, pretty good. America the Beautiful for me.
Then a curtain's drawn. It's under the Titantron, and they just reveal the WrestleMania 21 logo. Then a stupid video package plays. It's the wrestlers doing parodies of famous movie scenes at the time. Undertaker as Dirty Harry was an abomination. Booker T doing Sam Jackson made me giggle a little bit. And then Stone Cold whored himself to do a Gladiator parody.
Yep. I thought those were pretty fun.
Okay.
Oddly enough, I wanted to go watch them. Yeah, Triple H being Braveheart. Christy Hemme did that one scene where I'll have what she's having. Whatever movie that's from.
Harry Met Sally.
Yeah. Yeah, they were pretty funny.
I don't know. Just because they're in Hollywood doesn't mean they need to bastardize wrestling by doing parodies from stupid movies. The idea of wrestling is you're supposed to suspend disbelief. It's supposed to be real. And already, right off the bat, they're letting us know that these are just characters. These are just people playing parts. It just bugs me.
I don't know. Your wrestling and my wrestling is different.
I like wrestling. You don't.
Like I don't want my wrestlers real. I go watch the Olympics if I want real. I want larger than life characters. I want Hogan getting beat up by Sid while his music is playing still, only for him to get the upper hand and perfectly timed to where he can rip his shirt off and still pose. I want Ultimate Warrior getting voodooed by Papa Shango and throwing up, or Macho Man getting bit by a rattlesnake or a cobra, whatever the hell that thing was.
I strongly suspect that my favorite WrestleMania moment will ultimately be that 3-minute segment with Benoit and Angle.
Yeah, that's as real as it gets.
So Ross and Lawler are on commentary, and they're representing Raw. They tell us how awesome WrestleMania is going to be without talking about any of the matches. And then they introduce the Spanish announce table. They speak a bunch of Spanish, then kick it off to Michael Cole and Taz. Cole and Taz basically say the same thing Ross and Lawler did. In the first match of the evening is Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio Jr. Eddie and Rey are the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. So Rey did flips, Eddie did submission holds. So it's like Rey was the high flyer and Eddie was the proper, WWE wrestler. Eddie tried to do the Three Amigos on Rey 3 times. Finally nailing Rey with it on the third attempt. Ultimately missed the frog splash. Rey had a few 619 attempts as well. When Rey finally hit it, Eddie countered Rey's stupid West Coast pop thing with a sit-down powerbomb, which was kind of cool. And then Rey ends up winning with a Frankensteiner roll-up out of nowhere. Eddie pouts after the match, but they still shake hands.
That was a pretty good match. It did start a little slow, but it definitely picked up towards the middle to end. It's like they got comfortable. Rey Mysterio has a stupid, "Who's that jumping out the sky? RAI Mysterio, here we go." Still hate that. And Eddie Guerrero came out in some like green lowrider I don't know why that's worth mentioning, but there you go.
There you go.
And yeah, the match was pretty good. I knew Ray was gonna win for some reason. I didn't remember this match, but I was like, Rey Mysterio's probably gonna win because he always
Yeah.
wins. But yeah, that was that.
Well, that and Eddie, it got into his head that Rey Mysterio is better than him, and the fact that he just lost. It sounds like this is the first time that they faced each other, so this is probably the start to something.
A long, long feud.
So JBL's walking with some dude. It's Orlando
Uh,
Jordan.
there you go.
It was like this is the Cena match, and they just said Orlando, so I had to put two and two together. It's gonna be less awkward for me because I had some black dude in my notes. So JBL's talking how he's gonna beat Cena. Then they run into Triple H and Ric Flair. Triple H. This was weird. Triple H basically just big leagues JBL. Says he's the real wrestling god. JBL says he's the only champion who's never lost, and he's that damn good. Triple H says, well, we'll see at the end of the night. Then he sniffs and then goes back the way he came. Ric Flair woos because he's just a character at this point.
Yep. That title looked comically big. JBL's title.
I didn't really notice. I always thought that
Uh,
the World Heavyweight title looked big.
it did. I guess they just had big titles back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting that we are now in the wrestling god character. And it was also weird that just last WrestleMania, he was an acolyte in a nothing match, and now he's a champion and a wrestling god. And the longest reigning champion, apparently, of that era, which hasn't even been a year yet.
It was like 200 days or something like that.
Yeah, they said it was 200 days. I was like, here we are. He's touting that he's the longest reigning champion, and it hadn't even been a year. That's what we were going through back then. They were hot shotting those titles. But to their defense, I guess, they did have a lot of people who were champion caliber.
So we get our inaugural Money in the Bank ladder match. And the rules are that the first individual to climb the ladder and retrieve the briefcase will win the match and also will win a contract for a World Heavyweight Championship match in the coming year. And our contestants in the match are Y2J, Chris Benoit, Christian, Shelton Benjamin, who's also the IC champion, Edge, and Kane. Now, when Kane came out, they had ladders set up as decoration by the entrance ramp. So when Kane came out, the ladders that they had just all burst into flames. So fucking badass.
Yeah, and they were on fire for a little bit too.
They sure were.
It's like, someone gonna attend to that?
It was great. That's like the second year in a row he's had the best entrance. And it's just little shit. It's just fire.
Yeah.
As far as the match, it's just like any ladder match we've seen. I mean, it is significant because it's the first one, but when you've seen a multi-man ladder match, you've seen them all. The spot where everyone just took turns diving off on a group of bodies was stupid. They all took turns doing a top rope dive to the outside, and everybody would just cluster into one spot so they could catch whoever's diving.
Even Kane.
Benoit went on a crossface spree until Kane smashed him with a ladder, which I thought was funny. Edge and Christian sandwiched Kane with ladders. Shelton Benjamin did a stinger splash to Edge, which Ross actually called a stinger splash.
He sure did.
I don't know if it's significant or not because WCW doesn't exist anymore at this point.
And we're not even close to Sting being in WWE, so
no, not even.
Maybe it
we're
was
not
just
even sniffing that right now.
I mean, we knew what it was, but maybe it was a slip.
I don't even know if he's clanging and banging in TNA at this point.
Yeah, I think he's just out.
There was a phony spot where everybody went for the briefcase at once and then just took turns falling off their ladders. Benjamin did a spot where, so they had the ladder underneath the carabiner, and then they propped up another ladder. And Benjamin, he must have just done this without thinking about it, because he just ran right up it like a fucking cat and clotheslined Jericho. Yeah, it was Jericho. It was awesome. That's something that, like, if you think too much about, you're gonna slip and fall, or the ladder's gonna bend or something.
Yeah, I mean, one wrong misstep and he's wrecking himself, and not in a good way, because then his legs are going through the ladder.
Right.
Like, you're gonna be in bad shape right there. Speaking of which, wasn't it also him? He got the Damian Priest spot too. Kane tried to choke slam him out the ring, and then his leg got caught up in the ropes, and he's just hanging there upside down. I think it was Benjamin. Choke slam him out the ring. His leg gets caught in the ropes, and yeah, he's got that Damian Priest spot where he's just hanging there and the ref's trying to untie him.
Earlier in the match, Kane smashed Benoit's arm with a ladder, and later Benoit climbed top rope, and he's still selling the arm smashing. Like, he has to use his arm to climb up the rope, but he's screaming. It's so fucking good. Until he did a diving headbutt from the top rope and busted the stitches he had open.
It sure did.
That wasn't so good.
And then the way he was like selling it too.
Oh, was that when he was like folding back and forth, twitching and shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
Like, I
well,
don't
he
think
actually
that's
might be that hurt.
yeah, I don't think that's fake. So then Benoit climbs up the ladder with one arm. Kane sits up and joins Benoit at the top of the ladder. Looks like he's going to hit a choke slam. Benoit repeatedly headbutts Kane until he falls off. It looks like Benoit's going to win. Edge comes out of nowhere, whacks Benoit's injured arm. Edge retrieves the briefcase while Benoit screams at the top of his lungs in pain. And he screamed and screamed and screamed.
Benoit almost won it. His fingertips away.
Yeah. They would show shots of Edge just, having the best day of his life. And then they'd show shots of Benoit just screaming. But that was our Money in the Bank.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
All right. Well, up next is Eugene. Eugene is for those of you who don't know, Eugene is a mentally challenged wrestler. I don't know too much about. I know he was Nick Dinsmore. Was he with somebody?
He was
Okay.
Eric Bischoff's cousin or something like that.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, so he's Eric Bischoff's mentally challenged cousin. So he comes out all mentally challenged, and he can't believe he's at WrestleMania. And he says his favorite WrestleMania was 3. Then he starts talking about King Kong Bundy wrestling the midgets. And then he said the good and bad midgets formed a midget army against Bundy. Then he says midgets are awesome.
He was accurate on this description.
Yeah.
And you can go back and watch it on our channel if you want to go back and relive WrestleMania 3 with King Kong Bundy fighting a bunch of midgets.
And fight them he did. So you have the mentally challenged wrestler talking about King Kong Bundy fighting midgets and how awesome midgets are. So then he says it's the greatest night of his life. And then Muhammad Hussein and Davari interrupt. Hussein snatches the mic from Eugene and asks Eugene if he knows why he's angry. Eugene suggests it's because Hussein doesn't like midgets. Hussein says he doesn't like being excluded from the biggest show of the year. He says Hollywood is phony and racist, but he's never been pinned before. So I'm not sure how you go from racism to being undefeated, but he went there. Hussein yells at Eugene for getting to be on WrestleMania, not him. Davari starts yelling gibberish at Eugene. Hussein says because he wasn't given a WrestleMania moment, he needs to create one. Then he and Davari start beating up the retard. Hussein gets Eugene in a camel clutch. So you have the evil foreign menace attacking the retarded Eugene, and he has him in the camel clutch. And Eugene is screaming and begging, and no one's coming out to help. Boy, wait. There is one person coming out to help. And who's the perfect person to come out to help?
Well, let's give the audience some options. Is it A, Hacksaw Jim Duggan?
Ho!
Or B, Sergeant Slaughter? Because remember, this is the anti-American guy.
Yeah, maggots.
Or behind door C? Go ahead.
What you gonna do, brother? It's door C. Hulk Hogan hits the ring. Hussein and Davari try to jump him. Hogan beats up the brown people, then poses. Brooke Hogan and David Arquette were shown cheering. Hogan then leaves, and not once did he check on Eugene, who is presumably dead at this point.
This was the best part of it all. He fends off Davari. He fends off Muhammad Hussein. He does his posing. He does 5-6 minutes of the pose thing where he's pointing at the crowd, doing the ear thing, posing. He points at the other side, does the same thing, points at the ramp area, does the same thing, points at the back behind the commentary table.
Points at the fallen wrestler.
But never once did he ever check on Eugene.
No.
And even afterwards, he walks up the ramp and he's posing on the ramp. You got the American flag in the background. Still, not once did he even check on Eugene.
Nope.
who seemingly he had come out there to save. All the while the real American music is playing.
So in reality, Hulk Hogan just needed somebody to beat up, and they just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
And it also should be noted that we never even saw Eugene again on camera.
Oh no,
Like, once he got the camel clutch and Hogan came out, he disappeared from the camera. Never again did we see him.
I don't want to
Not
be seen
laying
within 20
down.
feet of this brother.
Yeah, he wasn't laying down. He wasn't being helped by the refs. He was
Nope.
just gone.
He just rolled. He Chucky rolled under the ring.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of it. I don't know. I was watching it, and after he was doing the posing and he started leaving, I was like, wait, he came
Where's
down to,
Eugene?
yeah, he came down to help Eugene, and he's not even checking on him.
Yeah. And
And you
then
would
he
think he
stopped at
wasn't
the
even
entrance
there.
ramp to, and I thought, like, okay, now he remembered Eugene. He's going to run back. But no, he did some more posing because that's Hulk Hogan.
And he kept thanking the fans. But yeah, not once did he concern himself with checking on the person he was saving.
No, not at all. Undertaker versus Randy Orton was the first match with a video package, and in it, Orton calls himself the Legend Killer, and he wants his next victim to be the Undertaker's streak. Orton's thing is that he likes to spit on people, which I bet those were fun times for the people in the ring with him. Like, it shows clips of him spitting on Harley Race and Foley, and did he spit on Taker?
I believe so.
So Undertaker said Orton is just another fallen dragon that will attempt to lay siege to his kingdom. Orton slapped Taker one SmackDown, and that really pissed him off. Taker made fire happen. Orton says he's not a victim, so he RKOs some bimbo. I assume it's Taker's wife at the time.
It was Stacy Keebler who was Randy Orton's, I guess more so his valet. They played it off as if it was his girlfriend. Like,
Okay.
you know, he definitely wasn't not smashing as they would have you perceive.
Then they show a clip of Cowboy Bob Orton. He's back, and he begs Undertaker on his hands and knees to show mercy on Randy. Taker says no. And then Cowboy grabs Taker's arm and pleads with him some more so Randy can come from behind and hit Taker with an RKO. And Taker tried to sit up, but he couldn't. Ortons were happy about that. So we get to the match, and Druids appear for the second consecutive year. And they have torches again, and they're doing the Gregorian death chant, and they circle the ring. And out comes Undertaker, and he's on a little motorized cart. I guess the idea is that he's supposed to be floating to the ring. Taz tried to sell it, but Taz drinks his own pee. So
Yeah, he definitely did try to sell it. What? He's floating.
what's he doing? It's like he's floating to the ring.
I've never seen anything like this.
So the match starts off with a slap from Orton, and then he actually takes it to Taker until Undertaker shuts down Orton with a right hook. Taker starts to methodically work on Orton. Orton tries an RKO out of nowhere, and Taker just dumps him out of the ring. Taker does his apron leg drop in an old school. Then he tries to boot Orton in the corner. Orton moves, and then Orton drop kicks Taker out of the ring, and then follows him so Orton can pummel him. Then he throws him back into the ring. Orton whoops on him for a little bit. Taker hit a sidewalk slam, a couple body avalanches, a snake eyes. He goes for the big boot. Orton cuts Taker off with a forearm. Undertaker does a sit up. Orton just beats on Taker some more. They do a double clothesline spot, and Taker just absorbs his. And then Taker locks in a Dragon Sleeper. Orton escapes with another DDT. They trade some more offense. Taker hits a belly to back suplex. Orton hits Taker with a power slam, then does 10 punches in the corner. Taker counters it with a last ride attempt. Orton escapes the last ride and attempts an RKO. Taker shoves Orton into the referee. Taker went for a last ride, and both he and Orton just fall over. So I don't know if that was planned or not.
I don't know, but they did play it off.
Cowboy Bob Orton comes out of nowhere and clobbers Taker with his cast on his left arm, his legendary cast. And then he pulls Randy over Taker, then drags the referee over to make the count, but Taker kicks out. Then he sits up. Cowboy Bob Orton shits himself. Taker starts beating the shit out of Randy. Cowboy Bob gets on the apron so Taker can give him a boot. Taker goes for a choke slam. Orton out counters it with an RKO, which was fucking cool. And then Undertaker kicks out of that. Orton inexplicably goes for a tombstone on Undertaker. Undertaker reverses it. He hits his for 1, 2, 3. Probably should have ended with the RKO, if I'm being honest.
I guess the one save of it is the fact that Orton took a little bit to get to the pin. So I guess that was the one save from it.
I just
But
don't
yeah,
like how he kicks out of the RKO and then he just, oh, well, I'm just going to go for a tombstone then. And then he just reversed the tombstone after taking an RKO. It's the chair all over again, man.
fair enough. But it was a good match from the two.
Yeah.
The crowd really got into it. So you love to see it.
It was a good match. It was very good.
Yeah, I would say, I'm just trying to remember. Definitely one of top 3 Taker matches so far.
I still say the Flair one's the best one so far.
That's fair.
Although the Kane ones were. Were
I
those the
like the
matches or the story?
first. Yeah, the stories definitely made the Kane matches. For me, the first one of the two was better.
Mm-hmm.
But this is, yeah, definitely one of the top Taker matches.
All right.
There's a lot going on in that kid, Randy Orton. He's got a bright future.
Yeah.
It's funny that he was a kid back then.
Right.
Now look at him.
Now he's
A
an
grown
old man.
with 5 kids.
He's a veteran.
Yeah. Cena's old. Batista's old. When they were all kids back then.
Batista still looks good though.
He does. But
His advantage is he always had the bald head.
yeah.
Christy Hem versus Trish Stratus for the women's title. They actually had a fucking video package for this. Hemi was in Playboy. Stratus spray painted slut on her back. Hemi had to call Lita beat up Stratus for her.
To her credit, though. To her credit. Stratus spray painted slut on Hemi's back, and it was if she wrote it with a pen and paper. Like how perfect it was. The people in the NWO could have took some lessons from her spray paint job. I don't know, the letters were like perfectly sized, like one letter wasn't bigger than the other. It was like a straight line.
She wrote like a girl.
I guess so. But she was using spray paint, which makes it all the better. Women can't use spray paint. That's a man's job, spray paint.
And they do it all neat and shit. They do it all wrong. Well, now there's a match. Hemi comes out skipping with Lita. Lita was not skipping at all. Stratus came out trying to look serious. Lita made faces until Stratus told her to leave the ring. Hemi made faces after that. Trish beats the fuck out of Hemi. Hemi kicks Trish in the pussy. Trish beats on Hemi some more, then gets distracted talking shit to Lita. Hemi hits a really slow splitting sunset flip from the corner. Trish hits a spear, more like a toothpick. Beats Hemi up outside the ring. Hemi fires back up with kicks to Trish's leg. Trish tries to beg off. Hemi beats Trish's ass, then hits a twist of fate for 2. Then they do some slow roll-ups. Trish kicks Hemi in the face, 1, 2, 3. Then Trish made mean faces after the match.
Yeah, Trish wins with a chick kick. And this was not a good match.
You don't say.
Twice. Number one, the crowd wasn't into it. Usually that's here nor there. But this was a big part of the match because now you can hear Trish Stratus calling out the whole match. Made it even worse. You can tell like Hemi didn't know what she was doing.
No. I think you're full of shit there.
Yeah, like you hear Trish, go do this. And she's waiting for her to. Anyway, next match.
This is just a showcase of what women's wrestling is. It's you got one that still sucks, but sucks less than everybody else. Wrestling somebody that really, really sucks and shouldn't even be there. And they try to put on something, and it ultimately sucks.
It is to note that we are maybe like a year away from Lita being the biggest heel woman in the business as she joins Edge and the whole Matt Hardy thing. So it's just funny that she's there, and maybe one could say it was probably that night because Edge was high on winning Money in the Bank. He was like, "Come here, bitch, you're mine now."
Hotel room. But Matt, fuck Matt.
Yeah, I just found it funny that she's there as a babyface and she's about to be like the most hated woman in the business.
Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle. And the video package tells us that this started when Michaels eliminated Angle in the Royal Rumble. Angle was pissed off, so he beat the fuck out of Michaels. And Michaels couldn't finish the Royal Rumble. Even ankle locked him on the steel steps. Pretty cool. I don't know how that makes it more devastating, but he did it anyway. Angle says he resented being asked about some pretty boy gliding down the rafters the same year he won a gold medal. He concedes that Michaels is one of the best of all time, but to suggest that Michaels is one of the greatest wrestlers is an insult to Angle and everything he stands for. So they play highlights of Angle kicking ass. Michael says he's not a doormat and that Angle's getting on the biggest stage of them all against Mr. WrestleMania. So this is the first time we've heard that. Michaels promises Angle a show he's never seen before, and then they play highlights of Michaels kicking ass. Angle says this is what you can expect at WrestleMania. It flashes and his straps come off, and then they play a bunch of people getting ankle locked. A Sensational Sherry was one of them.
Yep.
So Angle comes out with that fucking intense stare that he has, and it starts with Michaels slapping Angle in the face. That kind of bugged me because that's how the Orton Taker match started. I think that they could figure something else out. So after getting slapped in the face, Angle proceeds to use Michaels as a wrestling dummy. And then Michaels took control with a series of devastating side headlocks. Ross had the fucking nerve to say that Shawn Michaels was a master of catch-as-catch-can wrestling while he was just doing side headlocks. Angles gets out, they trade some moves. Michaels locks in an arm hold, so we're supposed to believe that Michaels, the high flyer, is a technical wrestler all of a sudden. And so after a couple near falls, they brawl in the corner. Angle gets some cheap shots in on the back of Michaels' head with a forearm. And then he gets Michaels in the ankle lock. Michaels is able to escape almost immediately. So they brawl on the outside. Angle slams Michaels on the ring post, which is great. And then he beats up Shawn, working on his back especially. Michaels fires back with a couple chops, and they start trading punches. He slaps Angle again, and Angle tries to take Shawn's head off with a clothesline. Angle goes for a top rope belly to belly suplex, then gets knocked off. Michaels goes for his elbow drop and misses. Angle drops the straps, so you know it's serious. And he goes for an Angle slam, but Michaels reverses it into an arm drag. Then he dumps Angle out of the ring. He almost kills himself doing a crossbody to Angle on the outside. Angle teases doing a German suplex to Michaels on the floor from the apron. Has he ever done that?
No, he's always teased it, but he's never.
Okay.
Maybe once he's been successful, but
Show
from
him
what I remember, it's always been a
just the
tease.
tease. Well, Michaels ends up kicking Angle in the balls. Then he does a springboard crossbody to Angle on the announce desk. The desk didn't break, and Lawler tried to say that the desk are reinforced with steel. They crawl back in the ring. Michaels gets the better Angle with some chops. Then he scoop slams him and hits his elbow drop and starts to tune up the band. Angle blocks it with an ankle lock. Michaels tries to roll through it, but Angle keeps it locked in, which looked like it hurt a lot worse. Michaels crawls to the ropes. It looked like Angle was teasing Shawn, letting him think he was going to get to the ropes before dragging him back to the middle, but no. So Angle goes for Angle slam. Michaels counters with the sunset flip, and then the Angle counters with an ankle lock from the sunset flip, and then Michaels counters with a roll up from the ankle lock. So lots of counters. And then Angle goes with a clothesline. Michaels ducks. He goes for a sweet chin music. Angle counters with an Angle slam. And surprisingly, that was not the finish. Then Angle, he goes for a moonsault and misses. Michaels slowly tries to climb up the top rope. Angle recovers, hits Michaels with the Angle slam from the top rope. And Michaels fucking kicks out of that. So Angle gets pissed. He pulls up Michaels and starts screaming in his face. Michaels nails Angle with the sweet chin music. And Michaels slowly crawls over Angle. Angle kicks out at 2 3/4 from fucking sweet chin music.
Again, he took a while to get to the
Yep,
to
you're
the
right.
pin, so
No, it made sense. It's just lots of suspense in this match. There's like so many finishes that should have happened. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So Michael stands up in a daze. Angle gets in another ankle lock. Michael starts thrashing around wildly, reaching for the ropes. Tries to kick out of it twice, but Angle will not break the hold. Michael starts crawling to the ropes. When he makes some headway, Angle just brings him back into the middle of the ring. Michael thrashes around even more wildly, but he has the will to crawl back to the ropes still. And just as Michaels reaches the bottom rope, Angle pulls Michaels in the middle of the ring and then binds the leg. Michaels teases for a really fucking long ass time, like he's going to actually make it to the bottom rope, but then he just taps out. Angle celebrates. It was a good match.
One of my favorite WrestleMania matches. There's so many little things that I liked about the match. Like Michael's trying to out wrestle Angle, I guess you could say, with the headlock. Maybe that went on a little long in the rewatch, but that's okay. Angle putting the straps back on and then taking them back off because he rededicated himself to the match. And then, yeah, I always liked that finish. The Angle playing possum and then just rises out of nowhere with the ankle lock. And then, yeah, Grape finds it. Sean ain't going nowhere.
I honestly thought he was going to get that bottom rope.
He was trying.
This is WrestleMania.
Like, we're going to keep going.
All the other matches are going to be 5 minutes.
Maybe outside of the Triple H match, this was the longest match.
This was definitely the longest match. Yeah, I think the Triple H match was maybe 5 minutes shorter.
Okay.
Something like that. But yeah, I think this one was just about a half hour.
They did get time to breathe on it.
Roddy Piper. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and we find out he's going to do a Piper's Pit. And he brings out Austin. The preamble was stupid. He's like, who's the most shit-kickingest bastard around? And I guess the crowd cheered Austin. I don't know.
He was asking, like, who's the baddest guy in the locker room? And they said it was Austin. And then it got to the point where he's like, who's the biggest rebel in WWE history? And then they said Austin. And he's like, bullshit. They bleeped it on my feed, but that's what he said.
Yeah, they bleeped it on mine too.
Oh, there you go.
It didn't sound like the crowd was saying anything, though.
I think a couple of them, they didn't know how to answer it, so
Okay.
it wasn't as loud as the first one.
Or maybe your feed has piped in crowd chants.
Maybe.
So Piper and Stone Cold come face to face. Piper welcomes Austin, and he slaps him in the face. Austin says, well, thank you very much for having me, you son of a bitch. And he slaps Piper back. Piper looks like he's holding back tears. Then he says he kind of likes Austin. Austin asks Piper if he wants more. Piper doesn't even answer it. He says he has a lot of respect for Austin. He respects him for sticking up for Vince McMahon. Crowd starts a what chant, and Piper plays along. Piper says there's one thing he disagrees with Austin on. Piper's been pissing off Vince since the red on Austin's neck was a diaper rash. And we agree on everything else but the rebel part. Neither you or James Dean got nothing on me. So Austin calls Piper a mealy-mouthed bastard. Says he doesn't trust anybody. Piper wears a dress. And why is he supposed to be scared of Piper? Piper poorly steals a line from the movie Cool Hand Luke. It's like, failure to communicate. So Carlito interrupts. Carlito says Piper and Austin are slapping each other like girls. They're not cool. Carlito says no one wants to see them. Everyone came to see Carlito. Austin tells Carlito to get his little nappy head in the ring. And Carlito just says, I'm coming. Piper wants to know who Carlito is. And then he says he looks like Alfalfa, which one, I have a hard time believing that a 2005 WWE crowd would be hip to the Little Rascals. And two, Piper didn't even get the character correct. He meant to say Carlito looks like buckwheat.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't Alfalfa because he's the one with the little spike thing.
Yeah.
So, like, well, that ain't right.
Carlito talks some more shit, then asks Piper and Austin to leave the ring so he can have his moment to shine. Piper ends up stealing Carlito's apple, and that really pissed Carlito off. Piper attacked that fucking apple like he was going to go down on his wife. He was almost...
he almost ate the whole thing.
Yeah. Just in 2 bites.
Yeah, and then it turned into a choking hazard. He was like coughing up. Yeah, he did the first bite, and then he told Steve Austin to wait a minute, and then he goes and bites some more, and it's like, golly, you're going to get the whole thing in one bite?
Of course, Piper spits the apple on Carlito. Carlito starts whooping Piper's ass. Austin just stands there with his hands on his hips laughing. And finally, Austin's had enough, beats the fuck out of Carlito, tosses him at Piper. Piper pokes Carlito in the eyes. Austin hits a stunner. Piper puts a bow on Carlito's bad night by shit-canning him out of the ring. Then Austin and Piper drink beer. So it looks like it's the first time Piper's ever had a beer, by the way. Just how he's holding it and following Austin's lead.
I like how they even did the story there where Piper couldn't keep up with how much beer Austin was drinking. First he threw him one, and then he would throw him two more, and then two more, and then two more. And Piper's trying to keep up, and he can't. Now he's starting to play like he's drunk. Or maybe he was drunk. I don't know.
Hmm. So Austin ends up stunning Piper, and Piper sold it like he was having a seizure. And
Good old Piper selling.
Austin drank more beer and left. It
Yeah.
went a little long for me, if I'm being honest. I have no idea why Austin and Piper were slapping each other. Like what issue they had.
Piper was defiant that this guy was a bigger rebel than him. And Piper's always that I gotta show you who the man is here. I don't know why he already went to getting physical, but yeah, like the slap. I don't know why he did that, but all the other part of it made sense.
Akibono versus the Giant in a sumo
You thought
match.
now you thought that last segment went long. If we went a little bit longer, we could have maybe cut this segment.
So to win, you must knock your opponent out of the circle or off his feet. And Akibono comes out first, and he looks like the toughest guy in the stands at the local high school football game. And apparently he issued the challenge to the Giant. And the motherfucker is Hawaiian. He's not even real, like, Japanese sumo. It's kind of disappointing for me. Giant came out with a ridiculous robe, and he teased showing his legs. I kind of got ill. And Giant gets to the ring, and he and Akibono both simultaneously take off their robes, and the crowd collectively gasps and groans. Lots of giggling, too. And sure enough, there's a circle in the middle of the ring for them to stand in. Giant and Akibono, they come closer in the middle of the ring, they clap their hands together, then they stomp, then they get in a sumo stance, then they stand back up and stomp. Then they get back in the sumo stance, then they stand back up. And then there's a man in a gold dress, and he's holding a katana fan, and he's starts to sing with the katana fan just outstretched like it's a microphone. The man in the dress takes a step forward. I guess that was a Giant Akibono's cue to sumo stand again. Then the man in the dress finishes his song. He fiddles around with a paddle. Giant Akibono stand up and start pacing. Giant Akibono go to their corners. They grab some salt to throw inside the circle. Then they start slapping their bellies. The man in the dress holds up his paddle and looks over dramatically at Giant Akibono. Giant Akibono get back to their sumo stances. Then they stand back up again and grab some more salt. This time, the man in the dress waits for the fat fucks to get set. Then they start to charge at each other and they start slapping. Then the man in the dress is screaming wildly. They stop for a second. Then they go back to shoving each other. Giant tries to pick up Akibono and toss him out of the circle. Akibono gets better positioning. They start shoving each other some more. Then they stare at each other again. Giant does a choke slam thing. Then he picks Akibono up this time and turns him to the edge of the circle. Akibono tosses Giant out of the ring. Looked like that kind of fucked up the Giant for taking the fall.
Yeah, he got hurt.
Looked like it smarted at least. And after the match, Akibono gave Giant a slight nod. And Giant goes in, shake hands, and raise the winner's arm.
And then they joked about, I don't know, the Giant was like, yeah, I almost had you, but then you grabbed the back of my neck and
Yeah.
threw me out. Like, yeah, that was a smart move that you did there.
I would have had you if you didn't throw me out first.
Yeah.
Instant
This
WrestleMania
was
classic. How many stars would you say this would be?
uh I think I can reserve the stars here. I don't want to give it injustice.
I always hate it when the bullshit before the match is longer than the actual match.
Yeah, it did go long. The whole ceremony or whatever the hell was happening.
Yeah, you got the dude in the dress singing and shit with his paddle and fan, and they're slapping and throwing salt.
And there was
And
something about them releasing spirits when they're throwing the salt into the
it purifies the ring,
yeah. Like
which is fine and dandy. But then they kept sumoing and then standing up again and slapping their bellies and throwing more salt. Like, how much purification does it need?
if you paid close attention, you can see that the Big Show was copying Akibono. He was copying his like ritual thing. He threw his hands this way, and then the giant would throw his hands, and then he'd step, then the giant would step. Like he just mirrored what he did. So it's like he didn't know the sequence.
And that's probably true. That would be kind of funny if Akibona just started fucking with him. Like started hopping up and down on one leg and shit.
Yeah, I don't know. All the dignity of the big show went out the window at that point.
Oh, that's when it went out?
Yeah, I could say that was pretty much the bottom of his career. I don't know if he was the New Year's baby yet, but it's coming.
Oh, there's also when he was Fat Bastard.
Yeah, that too.
That was
So
when he
yeah,
was trying to be a comedian.
when Vince was trying to be a comedian,
He
I'm just
was
gonna embarrass you.
what? He was in The Chaperone or some shit with Triple H. So then he thought he was the movie star.
I don't know if it was that movie, but it's definitely yeah. He was in some movie, and then he thought he was an actor.
Well, he's definitely not a sumo wrestler.
He's not. I saw too much of those two men.
JBL versus John Cena for the WWE title. And we get a video package. JBL thinks he's the greatest champion that ever lived. Doesn't think Cena can cut the mustard. JBL listed off all the qualities that make him great. Video plays of JBL being a shithead in contrast. So he says, like, I have integrity and honor and prestige. And it shows him cheating and hitting people from behind and stuff. Cena lost to JBL's, CBL. Cena lost to Orlando Jordan. And then they blew up his spinner belt, which was funny. Also a clear indication that Cena was going to win at WrestleMania. Cena wants to talk to JBL while Cena has a lead pipe in his hand. Then Teddy Long comes out, says Cena needs to wait until WrestleMania. So then Cena FUs poor Teddy Long. As a result of the attack, Long says that if Cena lays a hand on JBL prior to WrestleMania, Cena forfeits his title opportunity. JBL does whatever he can to get Cena to break. Says Cena's mom had to fuck the grocery clerk to pay for groceries. Long also reveals that if JBL strikes Cena, then Cena can beat the shit out of JBL. So naturally, Cena does whatever he can to break JBL. Cena defaces his limo and then spray paints all over his shirt. And JBL has Cena arrested so he can kick him in the balls. And yeah, so we get to the match. JBL's limo comes out with a police escort. Then it all starts raining money. It has JBL's face on it, so it's worthless. Well, it might be worth something now, ironically.
Yeah, I was just thinking, man, if one of those could surface now, it's probably I didn't look on eBay or anything, but probably worth a little bit of coin there.
I would say it's definitely worth more now than it did at WrestleMania 21. So JBL tells Orlando Jordan to watch the match in the limo. Well, Cena comes out and he is using his Super Cena theme.
So you already knew what was happening.
Mm-hmm. Well, when they blew up the U.S. title, I mean, the writing was all the wall. They're not going to blow up his little special belt for no reason.
True.
So they start off by running at each other. JBL ultimately just clobbers the piss out of Cena for a while. And JBL drags Cena to the ropes and starts blatantly choking him with him. Cena tries to mount a comeback, but JBL just cuts him off with a spine buster. And then he beats the fuck out of Cena some more, then locks him in a sleeper hold. Looks like Cena's done for, but he fights out with a belly-to-back suplex. They do a double clothesline spot. Then Cena starts firing up on JBL. JBL dubs Cena out of the ring. He gives Cena a neck breaker. And for some reason throws him back into the ring. Like I would have just waited for the count out. Because Cena has to beat JBL, not the other way around.
For sure.
So JBL hits Cena with a superplex. And he goes for a top rope thing. And Cena counters with a power slam. Cena finally mounts a comeback. Calls JBL a son of a bitch. Goes through his, little move set. Does the 5-knuckle shuffle. Pumps up his Jordans. Does the FU. JBL counters. Goes for a clothesline from hell. Cena ducks the clothesline from hell. Then he actually hits the FU 1, 2, 3. And we have now entered the fucking Dark Ages.
Yep. Super Cena's here.
The thing I hate most about John Cena, not his phony personality, not his bad movies, not his superhuman character. It's the 5-knuckle shuffle being the prelude to the FU. Because he does the 5-knuckle shuffle, and these motherfuckers always stand up, just getting ready to be slammed again. It just fucking bugs the shit out of me.
Well, I don't know where they're at.
I don't understand why your instinct is just to get up. You're laying down, and somebody drops a fist on your face. Are you just gonna get up?
That's fair. This whole WrestleMania, we've been seeing people kick out of finishers, and JBL loses to, I would say, it was a pretty simplistic one FU, and like that. The longest reigning champion in the modern history should have probably have taken more to put him down.
He was a weasel champion though.
Yeah, he was always lucking into wins. Did he win the title back? I don't remember.
JBL?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
he only had that one long run.
I think so.
Oh, there you go.
So we have a Hall of Fame segment, and the inductees are Cowboy Bob Orton, Nikolai Volkov, Iron Sheik, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
Who was a horny toad, by the way?
Oh my God.
Like he almost, they almost had to get the cops out there. He's trying to kiss her on the lips, and he was looking at her as he was leaving.
He kept
Like,
pointing.
calm down, you old.
He gave her a good long look while she was leaving.
Yeah, he's in that nursing home. Like, hey nurse, come, come sit on my lap. And
Can we move the sponge bath up a day early?
yeah, good for him, I guess.
Yeah. Jimmy Hart, Roddy Piper, and Hulk Hogan. Mean Gene then announces the inductees and lets them have a moment at the entrance ramp.
And Hulk Hogan has still not checked on Eugene, even
He hasn't even asked about him. Like, oh shit, Eugene. That would have been funny. That would have made it all worth it if like he's doing the Hall of Fame shit and then just like in the middle, oh shit, Eugene. Triple H versus Batista for the World Heavyweight title. And the video package tells us that Triple H's ego is really grinding Batista's gears. Batista ended up winning the Royal Rumble. Doesn't feel respected by the rest of Evolution for doing so. So he ends up choosing Triple H's title as the one he wants to go after. So Triple H starts talking shit about Batista in the locker room with Flair. Batista overhears, and he ends up powerbombing Triple H through a table at the contract signing. Triple H says Batista was like a brother. Now he's an animal that needs to be put down. And Batista is young and hungry and wants Triple H's title. So we get the match, and Motorhead sings Triple H's theme song. Sounded like Lemmy forgot the lyrics. It's kind of funny because it's his own fucking song.
I'll be honest, I didn't understand a word he said the whole time.
There is that as well. Yeah, it was not a very good live performance. In fairness, there's not a lot of good live performances.
Yeah, I've already documented that.
Right. Triple H rises from a platform in the middle of where the band is playing. Then it looks like Triple H gets lost for a moment before screaming motherfucker. Like he just starts looking around. It was weird.
It was.
It's like, where the fuck am I? So Batista comes out. He does his machine gun thing, and there's no pyro. It looks really, really awkward and stupid.
He's got to change his song to the "I'll walk for my" or whatever.
That was another thing. Like it was
danger.
It was weird just hearing the instrumental.
Yeah, it was also his like early theme too.
Mm-hmm.
I did notice that, and it also found it to be weird. Triple H and JBL came out first, and they were both champion. Challenger's supposed to come out first.
I hate when they do that. WWE seems to be the only one that does that. I think WCW is pretty consistent with champions coming out last. That's how it should be.
Yeah. And I found it funny that Triple H got this whole Motorhead playing him out, and then out comes Batista, and he doesn't even get fireworks. Like Triple H has this over-the-top entrance, and Batista gets nothing.
Yeah, they could have given him fireworks.
Yeah,
something.
I'm sure they'll get there.
Just having him wave his arms about like it's a fucking fake machine gun, just so awkward.
Yeah, it was always my favorite little part of his entrance, where he's like,
"Is the only part of his entrance
chain gun, and then he's swiping his chest. Fireworks are still going off, and then boom, that last firework."
When he retired that first time, that was the first thing I thought about. That made me sad. I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to see the machine gun thing anymore. So it starts off with a lockup, of course, and it's a stalemate because they're both really fucking jacked. Then they lock up again. Triple H tries to take Batista in the corner. Batista just powers out of it. Triple H tries to shoulder tackle Batista, and it's like he runs into a brick wall. Batista responds with a gorilla press slam. He whips on Triple H. Triple H knees Batista out of the ring. Flair distracts Batista until Triple H rams him into the steel steps. Then he beats the fuck out of Batista and then blatantly chokes him, I think in front of the referee even. Flair also got a choke in because he's the nature boy.
Dirtiest player in the game.
Triple H takes it to Batista out of the ring, then throws him back in so he can beat on him some more. Crowd starts chanting Batista's name. Triple H takes special care to work on Batista's back, using lots of suplexes and backbreakers. Flair got him one more choke on Batista. It's always funny how animated he is with the chokes.
Yeah.
Eventually, Batista tries to fight back, but Triple H cuts him off with a spine buster. Then he goes for a pedigree. Batista fights out. Then they fight out of the ring again. Triple H tries a pedigree on the steel steps. Batista ends up slingshotting Triple H from the steel steps to the ring post, and that busts Triple H open. So Batista just beats the shit out of Triple H and eventually tries to win with a power slam. They fight out of the ring again. Batista beats up Flair. Triple H tried to nail Batista with a chair, but the ref intercepts it. Triple H looks like he's going to whack Batista with the chair, but the ref is on the apron and he dives on the chair. And I guess he takes himself out in the process.
He sure did. He was dedicated to getting that chair.
Weirdest
And I
fucking
didn't
thing I've ever
know.
seen.
So the roommate's kid was watching this with me, the main
Mhm.
event, and he was like, "Is this a no disqualification match?" And I was like, "I don't even know."
So Batista throws Triple H in the ring. Triple H starts begging. Then Flair tries to attack Batista from behind, but he gets a spine buster. The ref recovers at this point and tries to get Flair out of the ring. Triple H nails Batista with the title belt. Batista ends up kicking out. Then he hits Triple H with the spine buster. Then he goes for a Batista bomb. Triple H punches Batista in the balls. Goes for a pedigree. Batista powers out of that. And then he hits Batista bomb 1, 2, 3. Batista poses while Flair carries Triple H back to the locker room. And they're all sad because they lost. I wonder if he and JBL are going to cry together.
Yep, they said we'll see who the real wrestling god is, right? Who's walks out as champion. Well, neither one of you did.
Then a highlight package closes the show, just like last year.
Well, I didn't watch it. I turned it off at that point.
I
But
did too.
then Batista got his fireworks. A lot of it too. It's like
Yeah.
they saved it all for them after he won.
I gotta say the title matches were kind of lackluster for me. The first one was way too short. Also, it didn't help that you knew it was gonna win. I mean, I knew it was gonna win the second one too, but the other one had other implications.
Yeah, of the two, I like the second one better. The Triple H Batista. They were kind of slower pace, or I don't know, something just didn't connect with me. I've pinpointed it as just like last time, the Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels match. It was just like
That
such
was
a
too
high point
good.
at that point.
Yeah.
It's just like emotionally took me out of the rest of it.
I don't know. What emotionally took me out of it was the Aki Bono fucking giant match. Like, why am I still here? Why am I a wrestling fan?
Well, I would say, yeah, outside of that match and the Trish match, this was a pretty good WrestleMania.
It was solid. It's not a classic WrestleMania or one I'll remember. I think if you're gonna watch this, watch it for Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle, and that's it. I mean, you can watch it for Aki Bono and Giant if you want to have a laugh.
If you want to question your existence,
Yeah,
question ever watching wrestling again.
this isn't even the worst of it. We still have the Floyd Mayweather thing, Snooki.
Yeah, I was like, golly, they put this guy through so much.
Mm-hmm. Shameful. But that is WrestleMania 21. Batista and Triple H's feud continues to backlash, and they had a rematch, of course, which Batista won. They concluded their storyline at Vengeance, where Batista won again, and it was inside a Hell in the Cell. And Batista was ultimately drafted to SmackDown, which ended their feud. He took his title with them. Then Triple H went on hiatus. It's worth noting 14 years later at WrestleMania 35, Triple H and Batista face again in a no holds barred match. It's Triple H's career's on the line.
Yep, the give me what I want match.
Yeah. And John Cena and JBL continued to feud until Judgment Day. They faced off in an I Quit match for the title again. Cena, of course, won. Shortly after, Cena was drafted to Raw. That ended that. And he took his title with him as well. And Edge holds on to the Money in the Bank briefcase until the following year at New Year's Revolution. He cashed in on John Cena. John Cena had just competed in an Elimination Chamber match, and he got cashed in on.
There you go. The ultimate opportunist, as they've now slipped that in there.
And Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle had a rematch at Vengeance, with Michaels winning this time.
There you go.
That's WrestleMania 21. And next up is WrestleMania 22, which is in Rosemont, Illinois. And our main event is John Cena versus Triple H.
Why don't I remember that?
Because it's not, I mean, it's just the, like, Triple H is solid. There's not a bad Triple H match, but he's just so vanilla to me.
I mean, I remember Triple H matches. I just don't remember this main event.
Oh, Tori Wilson and Candice Michelle have a Playboy pillow fight.
Oh,
You'll have to
something to
tell
look
me all
forward
about that. Ew, there's another one. Mickey James and Trish Stratus.
If this was Mickey James' debut, that's when she was like the Trish Stratus stalker. Wanted to be Trish Stratus.
I don't care.
Oh, you don't. I do.
Do they get naked?
No, they don't. I don't want to waste your time.
All right, then there's no reason to care. Ever. So before WrestleMania 22, we have Road Wild from WCW. It's in Sturgis, of course. And our main event is Hollywood Hulk Hogan versus Lex Luger. We also have Harlem Heat versus Vicious and Delicious. Do you remember who that is?
I know Bagwell's one of them. I don't remember who Vicious was.
It was Norton.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to say Scott Steiner, so there you go.
Yeah.
I was way
Yeah.
off.
Hey, you got a Scott. Conan and Rey Mysterio Jr. face off in a Mexican death match with Chris Jericho and Alex Wright for the Cruiserweight title. Master 6 versus Ric Flair. Mr. Perfect versus DDP. The Giant versus Randy Savage. And the Steiner Brothers versus the Outsiders, finally, for the tag team titles.
Finally. Well, we'll see how that goes. There's not a lot of matches that jump off the page to me. Maybe saying a Mr. Perfect match. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe Giant versus Randy Savage might be something.
Yeah, we've already seen it, though. That's the thing.
We have.
We've seen it a couple times.
But we haven't seen Luger versus Hollywood Hogan.
No, never.
We've seen him versus Hogan, but not Hollywood.
I think we've only seen him versus Hollywood.
True. Oh, well. I tried. But we will see how that goes. If you agree with anything, let us know in the comments below. If you disagree with anything, let us know in the comments below. Hit the like button on your way out. Hit the subscribe button on your way out if you haven't already. Till next time, we're the top guys and we're out.